Hello, handsome and beautiful people. Happy to have you around again. Yeah. So we just completed a video, a second one actually, for this series where we had to deal with some topics, very basic topics, welcome topics like this. Okay, so we want to take it a step further by tackling some other topics from data types, operators, variables, and the rest of them, right? So let's see how we can get it up to indentation or so. Okay, so get focused and let's see how to learn. Okay, so we talked about statements, we talked about new line characters, escape characters, and comments in our previous lecture. Now, we're going to talk about data types. I like to define data types as just types of data. As simple as it is, data type is just types of data. Okay, so we have different types of data. Say, I'm saying hello world. You already know that that is text. If I say 125, you know that that is a number. Okay, if I say 65.3, you know that that's a decimal. These are the normal way we can call them with the dictionary kind of meanings. You get what I mean? So what we programming, they have different namings, we call them. So we'll see how to call them depending on using the programming paradigm. Okay, so let's talk about it now. So the data types, like I just mentioned to you, means types of data. Types of data. So in programming, let's look at the types of data we have. So we have the text type. The text type of data, like hello world, hello world. This is called a string. Okay, a string, and is normally represented using str if you want to cast it. Okay, so we call this type of data. Anytime you see text, you call it a string. And what I like, very importantly, I want to mention this. I keep instructing my students because my focus is not just to teach theory and practical and then let the students go astray. I focus on teaching best practices and giving instructions that help you to become an advanced programmer. Otherwise, you'll always come back to the beginning. If the foundation is not right, okay, then it's going to be faulty. That house will be faulty. So this is what I instruct. When you are creating a text type, which is a string, you need to enclose it with quotes. Either you use single quotes or double quotes, they are the same thing. But just be consistent with your code, the kind of quote you're using throughout your program, right? So just be consistent with that. Let's use single quotes. So with string type, which is a text, this is how it's called in normal English, text type. We are talking about data type. So the first type is called string. Okay, string. You get what I mean, or str if you are trying to programmatically cast it to another thing. So str, and then it's always enclosed by quotes, right? That's for strings. The next one is called numeric type. Okay, they are grouped into numeric type, and we have, these are different groups. Then inside the numeric type, we have one called integer, called an integer. Okay, integer. Okay, integer. Okay, so integer is a whole number. I'll have to put this into different lines. Okay, so integer has integer or int as a whole number. Okay, so examples of integer, you can have 54. That's a whole number, right? So float, I will not be able to explain all of this, but just get the idea. You can pause this, copy this. These are the different categories of data types. Okay, so I'll just discuss some of them and then leave the rest for you. So float. Now you can study about this. So float, notice that you don't use this. If you add these quotes here, it changes it to a string. So that number 54 is no longer an integer, it's a string because of those quotes. So I always tell my students, anything you are doing, think in terms of think in terms of the data type. You want to create a variable, think first in terms of what data type. I want to write a name of a person. What data type is that? That's a string. I want to write a person's age. Is that a float? No, it's an integer because somebody's age will not be 6.5. Somebody's age will be 6, 12, 20, 40, 50, and the rest. So those are whole numbers. Okay, height. Yes, you want to write someone's height. You want to create a variable that holds somebody's height. Then you are free to use floats because those are decimal point numbers. So integers, like I said, they are whole numbers. So you can, let me change that. So these are whole numbers. Yeah, spell that correctly. So these are whole numbers without the quotes numbers, without the quotes. Okay, so floats, these are decimal point numbers, decimal numbers. Okay, so we have 60.9, even if 95, whatever. As far as this is, so this is a float, this is a floating point number, right? And we have complex, we have so many of them. We also have list. We discuss this sequence type later on, list, tuples, range. Okay, list is simple, something like an array where you have a set of square brackets and then you just write it. Then dictionary, curly braces, and we'll talk about dictionaries later. Then we talk about set, we talk about frozen set, then we talk about bool. So maybe I can just explain one of them and then we get going. So bool will carry true or false. Okay, that's a boolean. Will carry yes or no. Okay, so is it raining? No, it's not raining. That's a boolean. Okay, um, do you have a book? Yes, I have a book. That's a boolean. So true or false. Those are boolean. So this is what I want you guys to take note of, and as we move into data types. Okay, so welcome to data types, and I don't need to save that. So that's our data types. We have discussed data types now. So let me write that properly. Okay, so operators, we want to discuss operators. This should be number 14. So we want to discuss what operators are. If, of course, I won't ask that everybody has one time in his life or the other learned or, yeah, was taught mathematics. So operators come from mathematics originally, and then operators, I can define operators as symbols or characters used to perform operations on variables and values. So I come again, operators are symbols or characters that are used to perform operations on variables and values. We'll talk about variables and values in our next topic, but for now, just understand that you use it to perform operations. So there are very I'll write some of them. You know common operators. You know about plus. You know about plus. You know minus. You know times. In mathematics, it's like this, but in Python, it's like this. You know asterisk. Let me make that bigger. These are operators. This is operator. You know so many operators, but we want to not just talk about operators. They want to be able to group these operators into the different types, okay, into the different categories. So we have different categories of operators. We have arithmetic operators. We have assignment operators. We have arithmetic operators. Let me make this smaller and then drag this down. So we have arithmetic operators, we have assignments, okay? We have logical operators. Please forget about the spelling for now. We have comparison and identity operators. So that's, you can look up the other ones. Identity operators. Okay, so each of these we'll give examples and talk about them briefly. Now, under the arithmetic operators, okay, they are used for or used with numeric values to perform mathematical operations, okay? They are the common ones we know, the one I just talked about now. So they are the plus, minus, name them, divided by, multiply, modulus. There's also modulus, that's percent. Where is my percent? Okay. So modulus, it will actually divide. Say you are doing 5 divided by 2. So you expect to have an answer like 2.5 something. Yep. So, but the modulus operator will give you an answer of 1, which means 5 divided by 2 is 4, remainder 1. Well, 5 divided by 2 is 2, remainder 1, right? So that's the modulus operator, just talks about the remainder. Then we have the floor division, we have the exponential, and the rest of them. But notice that times is not x, it's actually asterisk, right? So those are our common arithmetic operators. They are used to perform common mathematical operations. Now we also have another one, Python assignment operator. Be careful with this one. So this is very common. Equal, you may call this equal to in mathematics, but in Python or in programming generally, this is an assignment operator where we have something like x. In mathematics, we can say x is equal to 5, but in programming, you say x is assigned the value of 5. So x is a variable. We'll talk about variables later. X is a variable and assign the value of 5. So this is the assignment operator. It assigns 5 to that x, actually. Yes. So we have assignment operators, and we also, let me give some more examples. So we have plus equal to, which actually looks like, if you are using plus equal, if you are saying x plus equal to, if you say x plus equal to 3, okay, so it's just the same thing as saying x is equal to, let me give that gap again. So it's just the same thing as saying x is equal to x plus 3. Then when you say the next one is minus equal to, it's the same thing, minus equal to, minus, so it's just like minus here, and then it's just like minus here. So that works, and then we have times equal to, divided by, equal to, all of them that we had before before that, right? So do you understand? We have a lot of that assignment operators. So for Python, and for programming languages, then we also have logical operators. We also have logical operators. That one is the one you actually expect equal. So when you have in programming, your equal is actually like this, double equal. Okay, it's not this one. This is assignment, but this is equal, and you only use it when you are doing like logical reasoning, like conditional statement, decision statements. When you do if condition is equal to rainy, then use umbrella. That's when you use this double equal to. As a matter of fact, if you try to use that, these assignments, they should throw an error. So you be careful where you use equal to and not. So these are logical Python comparison operators, not actually logical operators. Python comparison operators, right? Okay, so maybe I'll just leave the other ones. Okay, but maybe I'll just discuss one or two. So let me just use this one here. So this is the equal, this is actually the equal, right? And then we have other comparison operators, which are really, of course, you know them. Greater than, less than, greater or equal to, less or equal to, and it's quite easy. This also comes from mathematics, right? So greater than, less than, greater or equal to, less or equal to, just put them together, right? You don't need to do this. One of my students asked that, you don't need to do that. So this takes the position of one equal. So if you are using it with something else, that's good, that's fine. So let's just talk about the logical operators. So the logical operators, just being logical about it. So we have and, okay, we have or, we have not for logical. You know, you're asking if you are checking for a range of numbers between, maybe you are computing a grade system, you want to know who scored B, that's between 60 and 69. You would check if score is greater or equal to 60, and you now use this operator, and score is less than 70, or use less or equal to 69, right? So that will work very well for you. So you have AND operator, logical operator, or, not, and the rest of them. You can easily browse through the rest. So we also have identity operators. You can look up and get to study and understand these operators very, very well, right? So I hope you enjoyed this bit. So that's the bit about operators, and I hope you like it very well. So I don't want to say that. So that's operators, and we are done with it. So we are going to see how to use operators here. We are going to variables, my dear topic I like so much. Okay, so variable. So what is a variable? I don't like the textbook definition. So normally I ask my students, how do you understand a variable? And they come up with something nice. They come up with a better definition that is not so textbook, but I mean, from their understanding, always clap for them, because that looks great. Okay, one of my students said a variable is something we store in a memory. Another said it's just memory. Okay, and another one took calculator and showed me and said, if I want to calculate a particular number multiple times, I'll use it for computations, then I'll just put it in M plus or save it as memory and then keep using it. And that was fine. They understood variables. So from that perspective, I would say that variables, you are correct with variables if you think about it that way. So variables are containers. A variable is a container or a memory that holds data. A variable is a memory or a container that holds data. Why is it holding this data? Because later on you need that data to perform certain computations within your program. So you need variables for that. You need to declare variables. You need to call that variable later on when you need that variable. Okay, so we're going to practice how to play with variables. I always give an instance. Say somebody runs to you and tells you the number is 20, and you say, which number? And the person runs away. And then another person comes to you and say, I want to give you something very nice, something very big, maybe a car, maybe a house, maybe money, something nice that you've actually been dreaming for. So, but the thing is, I have a number in my head. If you can add that number to a certain number, okay, so I have a number in my head, and the number in my head is 7. So if you can add 7 to a certain number and give me what the answer I think is, if you can give me that answer, then I'll give you everything I have. So you suddenly remember somebody dropped an info to you telling you the number is 20, the number is 20. And then here you are to solve a simple math, to add 7 to 20. So you just tell the person, I think the number you're thinking of is 27. And then, wow, you have your car, you have your house, you have everything. And that's what a variable helps you to do. So that number, that 20 that the first person dropped with you was a variable. And you are able to use that 20 to add to any number, to multiply by any number, to divide, to perform other computations as need arises. Do you understand what I mean? So that's a variable. So let's see how it looks like. Now we have this. Let me open this. Okay, so let's start another file, variable .py. Let me just call it variable.py. So this is a variable. So the thing with variable is you have a variable name assigned the value of value. Okay, that's the syntax of a variable. So a variable name, you have a name, and then this is not equal to, like we just discussed in our operator class, this is assigned the value of value, whatever value. So I can give an instance, like an instance of variable name can be country, is assigned the value of. So you ask yourself, is a country, is it a number? Remember what I say, you think in terms of data types. Is a country a number? No. Is it a decimal? No. Is it a text? Yes. And then you go back, what was a text? A text is called a string, and strings have to have quotes around them. So country, maybe you can just say Botswana, right? So once you have this, you have created, this is a variable, this is the assignment operator, and this is the string, this is the value, right? So variable name, assignment operator, value. So you've actually assigned that value to that variable. So this is how you create a variable and then you assign it a value, right? So it's as easy as ABC. Now, if you want to say population, and maybe you ask yourself, population, is it a text or a number? It's a number. So you might just say 500,000, and you can leave it that way. So if you add this, this becomes a text. So make sure you don't add those codes. Okay, so here is how you can declare variables and use variables effectively. And it's really, really easy to use variables. So this is a variable. Now I want to talk about variables. How do you name variables? You don't name variables anyhow you like. Notice that even the way you name your files, everything lowercase. If you need 2 words, use underscore. If I wanted to use variable class, there I would just use variable underscore class. Okay, don't write it anyhow you like, right? And even your variable names, country, population, start with lower cases. Variable names must start with lowercase. So even if you wanted to say country name, you can write this. Country name is fine. Otherwise, you use a camel case. Camel case is mostly used. Camel case is starts lowercase and grows for every character. Another. You get what I mean? So that's camel case naming convention. Then you use it throughout your program. That's an industry practice. Then if you don't want to use camel case, you can use something like name, right? So variable names, that is correct. Variable names don't start with numbers. So you can't say Tupac. You can't say that. Okay. Instead, you can say pack 2. This is fine. Okay. So this looks good. You can have these kinds of naming. Don't, this is wrong. This one is really wrong. Packets equal to 5. So yes, I'll tell you what this means later, but please just keep it very simple. Simple variable names. You can use underscore. If you are using underscore to separate each name, make sure you use it consistently. Don't write country name like this. Country name is equal. No, don't do that. This is not a variable again. This is an error, right? So this is how you create a variable. And to simply call a variable, if you want to call Botswana, you just say print. Instead of calling Botswana, instead of typing Botswana here, since you assigned the Botswana to country, right? So what you do is you call country here. So country is called there, and then you print, and then it shows Botswana because country holds Botswana, right? So it's assigned to country, right? So if I wanted to call 500,000, I'll just call population, copy population, and there you go. So I have it. So actually, when you are calling variables, note, please take note, that's a mistake students like to do, that you are not calling the variable name with quotes. Variable name should never have quotes. Okay, so if you are calling the variable names, if you type this, it will show you population because it thinks you just want to print that as a text. So since you don't want to print that as a text, you remove these quotes. Okay, and then you are just calling the variable name, which is population, and then once you run it, you have 5,000. So make sure you don't put quotes around your variable names. Take that as an instruction. I say it again, don't add quotes around your variable names, right? So I've seen a lot of students do this. That's a mistake. Don't add quotes. Once you add quote, they turn to string and they just print that string population, that variable name for you, okay, not the value. So you're actually calling, I say again, you're actually calling the variable name. You are not calling the value. And while calling the variable name, don't print it. Don't call it with quotes. Okay, just call it like this, and then it will print out very well for you. So no errors and everything looks good. Thank you very much. I'm happy you joined that second basic class. So we'll continue from here in our next class. I'll continue with variables. Variable topic is vast and it goes into concatenation, indentation, and every other thing that we'll discuss. So I hope you stay tuned, and more videos and more rapidly as well. So you will have to wait 1 week before getting one video. During the series, we'll having a couple of videos mostly, right? So in a day, I can create 2 to 3 videos, and then so just keep in touch and subscribe, call your friends, make sure everybody's connected to this channel. I offer the best explanation, okay? And I help you to learn and become the best you are. So success in your journey, success in your future and your endeavors. Thank you so much. God bless you. I love you. I love you all. Bye.